Hey, and welcome to the Stories Unveiled podcast, where we talk about the purpose in every story and how to live in freedom from your past. I'm your host, Ashley Sears, and each episode you're invited into a conversation about real life between me and a friend. I believe if an issue is addressed in the Bible, then it's important to create a safe and supportive space to discuss it. While some of these conversations are not easy, I do believe they are worth it. If you like what you hear, please visit our ministry at storiesunveiledconference.com. Thank you for joining today.
This episode is brought to you in part by Pure Desire Ministries. Lives and relationships are being destroyed by sexual brokenness, pornography, and betrayal trauma. Pure Desire believes you were designed to live a life without sexual brokenness and the effects it can have on your future. After working with men, women, and churches for over 20 years, Pure Desire has developed a comprehensive plan to breaking free, healing relationships, and getting your life back from sexual brokenness and betrayal trauma. Through recovery and healing groups, a clinical program, and partnerships, Pure Desire is helping the church effectively address unwanted sexual behaviors, betrayal trauma, and the impact of sexual brokenness. To join a group, start counseling, or get more information, go to puredesire.org. You can take your life back from sexual brokenness and betrayal trauma. Start your journey of healing today.
In today's episode, Amanda and I had an opportunity to sit down and chat about her experience walking through the wilderness, both literally and figuratively. We chat about her scary journey through being lost in the Owyhee mountain range forest, and she gives us a glimpse into her thoughts and heart when she thought she couldn't go on. Amanda Rose is passionate about helping women develop awareness, confidence, and strength through lethal and non-lethal personal protection options. This includes helping women gain back their identity by providing tactical and firearms training, situational awareness training, and safety plans for self-defense. I hope this episode captivates you as much as it did me. Thanks for joining me today, Rock.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. So you are the founder of Launch Ministries. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And is it
absolutely.
Launch Pad?
It's Launch Ministries. Our release time program, which I know we'll get into a little bit, is referred to as Launch Pad.
Okay.
Release time Bible classes. Yeah.
So the ministry is Launch Ministries, but the class period is Launch Pad.
Correct. Yes.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So about 17 years ago, God put a burden on your heart for this opportunity for high schoolers to hear about Jesus in the public school system on their campus or close to it. That didn't just stem from one experience in your life, though. So tell me a little bit about you and kind of your upbringing and what high school looked like for you.
Yeah. I was thinking of that. It's been quite a while ago since I was in high school, but so hope my memory serves me well. Actually, there were some real pivotal things in my life that shaped me during that time, and that really broke me during that time. My dad, altogether, he was married 5 times, and my mom 3 times. We lived with our grandparents and kind of tossed back and forth with family members and so forth. So, and I actually, high school, I went to 3 different high schools in 3 different states.
Same.
No kidding.
Yeah.
High five. You can't see that, but there's a high
3
five.
high schools in 3 different states. That's amazing. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. Very hard. Yeah, extremely hard. And, you're trying to find your niche. And the way I was able to kind of find my niche was that I was pretty good at taking a round ball and putting it through a round hoop. It's called basketball. And I could do that pretty well. And because I could do that pretty well, people liked you, and you became a part of that group, and that's kind of where I got my, I guess, affirmation, my sense of belonging on that team, and so forth. But high school was extremely hard. My dad, and both dad and mom, struggled with alcoholism and drugs, and my dad was extremely abusive, emotionally, physically, and so. My escape was just to get out of the house, was to be in the gym, and so that was really, and that became just my identity too. Yeah. And like I said, that's kind of where I found acceptance and approval, things that I wasn't getting,
at home.
Obviously in my home.
Yeah.
And
So Did you know Jesus in high school?
I did not.
You didn't. So you were not raised in a Christian home?
No,
You didn't?
I certainly was not.
Okay.
No. Once in a while, we'd show up on a Christmas or Easter
Christmas
at a
service?
church, but that was pretty rare too. So,
Okay.
But I do remember as a young boy praying. Didn't know much about what that was. Just talking to God. Always had this, I think, God awareness, God reverence, even.
Yeah.
That
You were aware that there was something bigger than you.
I had hoped there really was. I hoped there was something better than what I was experiencing, unfortunately, as a child. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about when you became a Christian. Tell me when you found Jesus.
Yeah. Well, so because I was able to put that round ball through that round hoop and do it pretty well, it actually got me a scholarship to college.
That's
great. I ended up at a junior college in Texas, and then ended up transferring to Boise State University. So go Broncos.
Yeah.
So I played there, and there was a teammate of mine. He was from the Bay Area in California, and rumor had it around the locker room, different places that he was a Christian.
Okay.
And I was like, well, that's great, aren't we all?
Okay.
Christians, And I didn't really understand the whole concept very well, but there was something different about James, and amongst all the other teammates that I had during that season. And I really respected James, and we were roommates on road trips.
Okay.
And so he would always, have his Bible with him.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious about that. And I remember coming back from a game. I'd been out after the game with the guys out to places that I shouldn't have probably been at. But James was back in the hotel room. When I came back to the hotel room, and it was pretty late, the light was still on, and James was up and he was reading his Bible. And I remember saying, James, what is that all about?
What are you doing?
Why do you carry that book around? And what's in that book? And anyway, I just opened the door for him to share with me about his relationship with Jesus Christ and what that meant to him. And then he invited me to a Bible study that he was having in his apartment back on campus. And the crazy thing about this part of my story was that 3 months prior to this, actually, my dad sent me a Christmas present. Now, prior to that, I hadn't seen my dad in over a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
In fact, it was the last time I had seen him, he was in a drunken rage, and it was horrible. I never wanted to see him again after that point, right? But then here, all of a sudden, I get a package from him and a Christmas present.
Wow.
That he never ever sent me anything, right? And so it was a total surprise. I open up the present, and lo and behold, it's a Bible.
What?
Yeah, that's what I said. Actually, what I said and thought was, what is he smoking now? Seriously. I mean, yeah, just so crazy. I didn't know what he had gotten into. And later on, I found out like 4 or 5 months before that he had given his heart to Jesus.
Wow.
And
you just didn't know.
I just didn't know. And so I took the Bible and I thought, well, what the heck is this? I just threw it in my closet in my bedroom, didn't think much about it. But when James, though, invited me to a Bible study, I thought to myself, well,
this will be put to good use.
I got a Bible, right? I got a Bible.
That's awesome.
And so anyway, it was through that connection with my teammate and friends that were in this Bible study where the gospel began to become clear to me, began to understand who Jesus was. And that's when I gave my heart to Jesus Christ.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we'll talk a little bit about how that has influenced Launch and why you started it. But I want to hear the story actually about that day in 2006 when you dropped, was it your son? Because you have 4 children, right?
Correct.
Is your son your oldest?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he was
DJ.
the first of your 4 to go to high school.
Right.
So tell me about where Launch was born. This idea for Launch Ministries was born, and
well, obviously I'd been in ministry 20 years prior to that. So,
yes, you've been a pastor.
Right.
You planted churches.
Right.
You have an extensive ministry background from the time you gave your life to Jesus. Fast forward to 2006.
Correct. Yeah, but on that day, 2006.
Yes, but in 2006.
It was the first day of school, and actually, you know what this is like as parents. We get our kids all lined up and we take the picture, right?
I know, I have 3.
That annual picture, first day of school
the
picture.
one that they hate.
Yeah, exactly.
Get on the front porch. Sure. We're going to take a picture.
But what DJ, our oldest, hated more was that we told him we were going to drive him to school that day.
Did he want to take the bus?
He just wanted to walk. We didn't live very far. I'm not even sure why we drove him to school that day, other than God had a plan in that. Because
100%.
Because as we're dropping him off, so he's his first day of high school, freshman boy.
Year, yeah.
Last thing he wanted was his parents to drop him off.
Drop me off down the street, guys.
Exactly right. Exactly. But we drop him off, and as we're pulling out of our parking lot, my wife and I start praying for him, and just so people know that when I'm driving and praying, I do that with my eyes open. So don't be afraid if you see me.
Got it.
Driving. But so we start praying for DJ and the school. And out of the corner of my eye, what caught my attention actually was the LDS Seminary.
Yeah.
And
which is important to note that those are on all campuses, if not most campuses.
Well, here in Idaho and Utah and other states as well,
which is kind of wild.
The LDS, have what they call their seminary, which the public high school students, the LDS students, can be released. Yes. That's release time, right? Can be released to go there to take a class.
Yeah,
to learn about their religion.
Seminary LDS class.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so I remember praying, God, would you raise up something like that for non-LDS kids?
Yeah.
Christian kids, non-Christian kids, to be able to take a class.
To learn about the Bible.
Like that. Yeah, to learn about the Bible. And I didn't really understand all about release time.
Yeah.
That public high school students legally can be released for one period a day to go off campus to take a class.
Anywhere. Right? Yeah. That's their legal.
Yeah, legally.
Right. Yeah, they can do that.
One period a day. And so prayed that prayer, didn't think much about it, but it just felt like God, as he does with a lot of our prayers, kind of keeps bringing us back to that prayer.
Yeah.
And sometimes you actually become the answer to that prayer.
Yeah.
So be careful what you pray for, as they say, because you might be the answer to it. So we did, within like a 6-month period of time, actually began to understand more about, I began to ask questions, well, what is this religious release time in public high schools, like what the LDS do? And I had a couple friends that were educators and just began to inquire and began to kind of start to dream a little bit about what would that look like if the Christian community did this? Yeah. What would it take? And so we took our first step, and put together this ministry, a 501c3, and created a board and started that whole process.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you bought it or if you rent it, but you have a house across the street from that very high school.
Yes.
Where it all started, in that parking lot that you prayed for your oldest son.
Yes, absolutely. And that's another God story, how we got that place. But that became our first location at that high school. And it has now become our office space and everything else. It's our international headquarters, I joke about.
Yes.
We're certainly not international, but
not yet.
But right. But so we started in 2006. And really that first year, we didn't have a release time Bible class that first year. That first year, we were just inviting students to come over for lunch and just hang out with them. I was substitute teaching
at that high school.
At that high school.
And this is Meridian High School
Yes.
in Meridian, Idaho.
Meridian, Idaho.
Which is just basically a suburb of Boise.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So I kind of embedded myself into the school that way and got to know the teachers, administration, and
you're building relationships.
Build trust and relationship exactly and with the students. But it was the second year where we actually started our very first release time Bible class.
Yeah.
And we had, I think, 4 students maybe at that time, and I was the solo teacher. Poor kids.
Oh my goodness.
But had a great time, and then God just kind of took it from there.
Yeah. So it's grown because it's not just at Meridian High School anymore. Tell me a little bit. Well, I guess connect the dots maybe a little bit about why you're so passionate about high school students, and maybe does it play into your high school kind of upbringing, or maybe how you found Jesus in college?
Yeah, I think so. You know, God doesn't waste any of that stuff in our stories, does he? I mean, especially that hard stuff. It just seems like he does his best work in redemptive work through all of that. And so I think that for me, most definitely, that was the most critical time of my life, both in the sense of just being so broken during that season of life, but also finding such great hope as well. You know, when I was in college, and then I just experienced people pouring into me as a young person, and helping me understand, you know, what the gospel, the good news was, and how it related to me, and I was challenged to take what I had learned and to share it with others. And for me, it was just so natural that I would just share it with my peers. And even as I grew older and got involved more in church ministry as a pastor and so forth, my heart was always for the next generation. I would do basketball camps every summer. I'd always stay connected to young people. In fact, I felt like God gave me a clear picture one day in my mind that if I was to walk into a room and on one side of the room is 25 and over age group hanging out, and on the other side of the room there's 25 and under, and I walk into that room, I will naturally break to the 25 and under group.
Really?
Yeah, it's just the
like
weirdest thing.
Kids.
It's like, I'll leave the old people over here. You know, I'm gonna hang out over here, and just intrigued, you know, with what's going on in their lives and their interests and their stories. So that's a lot, I think, of how God really, just kind of led me to high schools and college age students. Yeah,
I love that. Well, I know personally this ministry has impacted, well, I guess my life, but through my daughter. You know, she has attended Launch Pad for all 4 years. She'll be graduating this year, all 4 years. And she started right there at Meridian High School where it all started. So I just think that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Tell me about how it's grown. So it started at Meridian, and now it's on how many campuses or near?
Well,
how does that work?
Currently, we're at here in the Boise and surrounding area.
Yes.
We're at 18 different high schools.
Okay.
We have been at over 20 different schools throughout the state. We've also helped probably 5 or 6 communities start these as well.
Yeah.
In fact, a couple weeks ago, I got back from Phoenix and had met with a bunch of youth pastors down there that were excited about starting this as well. So, but we've had over the last 17 years that we've been in existence, we've had close to 4,000 public high school students take a class.
That's amazing.
Now, actually, this is during school time.
I know.
Right?
I teach.
I know you do. You do. You know.
So
we have access to these kids during school hours. You know, people complain about, you know, they're kicking God out of school, and they have, you know, but God has other ways of getting to the hearts of kids, and release time is. Well, it's been called the overlooked open door into public high schools. Now, the LDS have not overlooked that through their seminaries, and we're not overlooking it anymore as well.
Yeah,
and we just want people to know that they can do this.
Yeah.
That public high school students can take a Bible class.
Yeah,
be a part of a community for one period a day. They can do that.
Yeah. So. It's amazing. So what's your goal with this? Is it's to spread it beyond Idaho, right? And beyond this area?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, ultimately our goal is, when I think of one student, our goal with that one student is to, after they've been with us in that class, the vision is that we launch them back. So we kiddingly say that we are not a sponge pad, we are a launch pad. We don't want to just come here and absorb. We want you to be impacted by that class and that community, but we want you to launch back. And when you launch back, we want you to do 3 things. We want that student to be able to integrate their faith into every classroom. So if they're sitting in a class, in their biology class or their economics class or their history class, the question we want to pop into their mind is the question, what does God say about that?
Yeah.
So that's integration.
Yeah.
Biblical worldview stuff. So that we want them to integrate. We want them to initiate spiritual conversations with their friends. And we want them to impact their campus through Christ-centered acts of service to the school.
Yeah.
So that's what we want each individual student to do. That's our vision for them.
That's your vision for the students.
But we want to see this happen all across the United States at public high schools.
Yeah.
And so we have created 7 steps to launching a release time Bible class at your public high school. And we have been working with, as I mentioned, youth pastors in Phoenix. Had a conversation a week or so ago with a lady in Houston, Texas. And so it's gaining some momentum. God's opening up other doors.
That's amazing. Well, that you talk about launching students. So your goal for my daughter, who is one of those students, has worked because she has done all 3 of those things. She currently actively does them. And to launch back, into now she's going to be an adult and she's graduating high school. And you guys have an incredible opportunity that is starting the fall of 24 called the Launch Pad, or just the Launch Gap Year program.
Yeah.
And tell me about that. Tell me about this Gap Year program and
Yeah, we're extremely excited about it. It's been a dream for the past 5 years. And you know how those things just kind of sit on the back burner for a while, and God, sometimes he just turns the whole thing off, and there's nothing cooking back there, but you still have ideas, right?
Yeah.
Which is fun. But this just has started to gain more and more momentum over the last year. So we're really excited about it. But one of the things that we've observed working with high school students over the past 17 years is that when they take that next step from high school into college, it's not always as smooth and beautiful as we want to make it out to look like colleges want to make it out to look like. A lot of kids go and they're not sure why they're there, and they've taken out $50,000 of school debt, and they've changed their degree 3 or 4 times, right? Yep. I can relate to that. And
some of them just don't know what they want to do.
And some of them just don't know. No. So they think the default option is go to college.
Yeah.
Get in debt, go to college.
Yep. I don't know what I want to do, so I might as well go figure it out while I'm paying money in college.
Exactly.
Which is not necessarily the best choice.
It's nuts. And there's so many really great options out there nowadays where college isn't necessarily always the thing for students to do. There's other ways to get where God wants you to be,
I believe that.
So we had done some research as it relates to gap years, and over probably the last 10, 15 years, gap years have become somewhat of a popular option for high school students. We think of it as a strategic pause. Yeah. Hit that pause button. Yeah. And there's some work to do in making this transition from high school into more adulthood. Yeah. Especially as a Christ follower. And so we just began to realize that taking a year to really firmly get a hold of the truths of the gospel, to firmly undergird yourself with a strong biblical worldview, to take time to learn how to be in a community, a Christian community, learn how to do some adult things together, learn how to be on mission in this community. So within this program, this Launch Gap Year, students will be taking Bible classes together. They'll be living together. They'll be doing ministry together. We'll be going overseas together and serving.
That's amazing.
And so there's just a lot of different pieces to it that we feel like are going to help them launch more effectively back into whatever it is, if it's back into school or whatever. And I had 2 daughters that did a gap year experience. And so I saw the change in them. And I was convinced that if we could ever create this out of Launch Ministries, we need to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing.
Well, and it's intentional. I think sometimes parents hear gap year and they hear messing around, right? Like for a year, they're just because I just don't want to go to school. And I think a lot of parents hear gap year and think, well, they're never going to go. If you don't go right out of high school, go to school right out of high school, you'll never go.
Right.
And it's so intentional too. And for those that don't know, or maybe they don't want to ever go to college, whatever it is they want to do, it's a really good intentional time for people to learn about Jesus. They are going to be taking Bible classes
for sure.
that, am I understanding correctly, would potentially be credit?
Yep. We are working actually, we're in partnership with Eternity Bible College down in California, and utilizing their classes. It's going to be highly relational, very discipleship oriented. The whole experience will be. So you're right, extremely intentional. And statistics tell us too that gap year program. So you think, oh, your kid's going to get behind a year. You know, oh no. Well, actually, it accelerates their growth. Kids that take gap year experiences graduate more, higher percentage graduate almost even sooner than kids that don't do a gap year because they've had a chance to dial in a few things. Learn more about themselves and mature. I mean, really, one of the things too is we want kids to have a lot of different experiences. We're going to be creating internship opportunities for our students so that they're going to be able to experience some things and learn who they are in the context of a community where others are saying, yeah, I see this in you, or no, I don't see that in you. And so that's healthy. That's good.
And I see it a little bit like a cohort in a sense of like, so they'll be living together, they'll be, doing classes together, projects together, they'll be going overseas together. They're going to be their own kind of family or community.
Totally.
And with that comes conflict, and with that comes really amazing things. There's always conflict in relationship. Always.
For sure.
And so life experiences, it gives a little bit of like a dorm room type experience too. And so I just think it's amazing. I can't wait because, my daughter's sold. So,
great.
I just think that's amazing. Well, I kind of always end the podcast with asking a question, kind of putting it back to the listeners. But this time I want to kind of ask you, where can people find Launch? How can they dive in as far as like, oh, I want to send my kid to this class, or I want to know more about this? What if there's somebody listening that wants to teach? Because obviously there's a vetting process for that, but I teach. So, it's not just staff, Launchpad staff. It's youth pastors, and I'm not a youth pastor, but people that love Jesus that you have relationship with. And so how can people teach? How can people get involved or donate to the ministry, and then find all the information about the GAP program?
Well, we have a website.
I knew that was coming.
Right? Yeah, for sure. So it's launchministries.org, launchministries.org. And there you can look around, and there's all kinds of information. But we just want parents to know that this is available to their students, right?
Yeah.
So you can, especially here, in the Boise and surrounding areas, but also that if you're wanting to start this somewhere, if you're in
wherever you're listening
to, and you have an interest in this, that you would go to launchministries.org, and there would be a place where you can find out more about how to start the conversation with us. So that we can come alongside. We want to come alongside of people to help them do this. But if you are in the Boise area, and you can take advantage of our classes, you reach out to us, contact us. The information, of course, is there on the website in order how to get contacted with us, and we can help you get your child signed up through the school.
Yeah.
With one of these
because you do
classes.
partner with the school. So the
Yes,
school
absolutely.
will tell you about it and that it's an offering for a class and all of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And our students don't receive high school credit for these classes,
Right.
but they can get college credit, right?
Yeah, so it's either a non-accredited class or they can get a college credit.
Absolutely.
Which is,
absolutely,
I mean, better than high school
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
If they're going to end up going to college, you know.
Right, for sure. Yeah. And anybody that's interested in being a part of one of our teaching teams at our different high schools, like you are, we'd love to discuss that with you as well. If you love teenagers, love God's Word, think that this is a neat opportunity during school time to be able to connect with these kids, well, this is the opportunity. So reach out to us with that.
And they can contact you through the website.
They can, absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
And the website will be in the podcast show notes. So anybody listening can scroll to the bottom and click on that link. So
great.
Thank you so much for being here, Rock. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation on the Stories Unveiled podcast. We would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review. If you would like to learn more about Stories Unveiled and our events, go to storiesunveiledconference.com or follow us on Facebook or Instagram at storiesunveiled_. The Stories Unveiled podcast is created in partnership with KTSY and Barefoot Media Ministries. For more encouragement and other podcasts, visit ktsy.org. Have an incredible day and go live unveiled.